Chelsea Football Club are all over the place. And do you know what the most hateful thing about it is? At this stage of the season, you should be really happy. This is a beautiful time of year, I think, for being a football fan. You're allowed to dream, aren't you? You're a Fulham fan, John. In theory, you're allowed right now. You can tell me that you're going to finish sixth in the league, and you can be happy, and you can say that you've lost Paulinho, but you've been linked with Calvin Phillips, and you're happy, right? You can be.
Calvin Phillips, Scott McTominay, Smith Rowe. I'm looking at that and going,
you can dream. And look, you're doing it now. Yeah. It's beautiful to see. Because this time of year, you're allowed to do that. Equally, Miles. Arsenal, you've been knocking on the door, finishing second 2 years in a row. This is your time. You can believe it.
100%.
Whether it's true or not, it doesn't really matter. Whether it's true or not for you, it doesn't really matter. Chelsea Football Club robbed me of the joy of dreaming.
So you have no belief?
I don't think so, Rory, man.
They've robbed... I hate the way that they are conducting themselves. Like, you know how you're talking about being linked with McTominay and being linked with Emil Smith-Rowe and being linked with adventurous, progressive footballers? What are we doing? Like, Chelsea are selling our heartbeat.
Tell me what you hate about it, and I'll tell you from my opinion, from a rival fan, if you're being OTT or if I believe that what you're saying is right.
That's fair. I'm going to use the last 3 days as a case study. So the two headlines that have come out of Stamford Bridge in the last 2 days. Number one, Chelsea signed some American kid called Wiley. Right? Well, I know. Yeah. All bad boy, just flash your lighter, right? Right? We signed some American kid called Wiley. And
Rolex
bearing in mind that he will never play a game for Chelsea. So this is what we're doing. We're signing these kids constantly accumulating as many kids as possible to then sell them on.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible strategy.
Yeah, it's not good, but
worse. Yeah. And so that's one headline. The second headline, Chelsea have gone on pre-season tour and left Trevor Chalobah at home.
Okay.
That's a disgrace.
That's considering he came from your academy as well.
Primarily, do you know what? I was going to say primarily because he came from the academy, and I will be completely transparent here. I do have a love for Chalobah. I do like him. Right? I like players that come through the academy. I feel more of a bond and an affinity. But say you remove my romanticism and my sentimentality around this, just look at the player. He's better than any other centre-half at the club.
Yeah.
Like, he's a better player than Badiashile. He's a better player than Axel Disasi.
Yeah.
He came into the team last year, Chelsea improved, and...
Got injured, came back.
Yeah, he
had a good comeback.
And let's just think about it as a respect thing. Leaving him at home on pre-season.
Well, so what was the why did they leave him? Was he injured or was it
force him out, man?
The manager doesn't...
No, I think they're just trying to force him out. They're making him leave the club.
Do you think that's the manager's decision or the higher-ups are coming into Maresca and going, you're not taking him?
I think he's not part of your cowardly from the manager. And I imagine that part of the reason Mauricio Pochettino left, got sacked, whatever you want to call it, I imagine that part of the reason was because last year, Conor Gallagher played more minutes for Chelsea than any other player for Pochettino. So Pochettino picked Gallagher more than anyone else. Pochettino brings Chalobah back into the team. Chelsea don't lose another game. Genuinely, the stats are unreal. Chelsea don't lose another game. I think that Pochettino said, I need those two. And the board have said, no, those two will be sold probably for approximately 100 million quid combined. So Pochettino has principle and has gone, no, thank you. Yeah. Maresca, it seems like, has gone, okay, don't worry about it.
Can you judge him for that, though? If you were given that position to come in the door, you're given a chance to take this step, biggest club you've
managed. It's hard to judge him because I don't know that it's true. It's my theory.
Yeah.
If he may have looked at Chalobah, it makes no sense to me, but he may have looked at Chalobah and said, I don't particularly want him at the club. I don't see how you can think that. I don't see how, as a manager, trying to build the best first 11 for Chelsea, you can look at Trevor Chalobah and think that Chelsea, overall, are a better squad without him in it.
Yeah, but if you do sell him, like you said, you could probably get 100 million for both players, which is a bit of a stretch. But if you could get at least 50 million or 40 million for Trevor Chalobah, and then you get a better centre-back, what makes your team ultimately a better team, you take away the sentimental value because at the end of the day, you love Chelsea Football Club. You're gonna love your club more than any player.
But what you love about the club is also linked to the players representing the club.
Of course, but he's represented your club for a long time, and obviously he's a good player. But if this manager sees that he's got not even just the manager, let's put it on the manager. If the manager says, I see another centre back or there's another centre back that I like will fit my system, and I don't think Trevor Chalobah might be that player, as good as he was for Pochettino in your club last season, you can't really complain about that because at the end of the day, ultimately.
But supporting a club.
Because I love Smith Rowe and he's looking like he's going. He's one of my favourite players at Arsenal. But ultimately, I know if we're going to sell him to get a better player, to bolster our squad or get us a better position within the league, or i.e. try win it, that has to happen.
But this isn't symptomatic of Arsenal. You aren't selling every young talent that you're producing.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of young talent in your squad that's still there. You've got a lot of long talent that's travelled with you.
If Chalobah and Gallagher go, let's just pretend that they go. And I think they will. In 2 years, since Todd Bowley, Egbali, Clearlake took over, in 2 years, that would be Chelsea's 11th youngster that has played for the club to leave. That has played. I'm not talking about a youngster that never quite made. I'm not talking about Charlie Colkett, someone who kind of comes through, plays 3 games. So, I'm talking like 50 games for the club. 50 games for the club. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, 50 games for the club. Yeah. It would be the 11th player that has played 50 games for the club to be launched out.
And your point is that's just going to continue, and then Reece James next summer. Like, who you just keep getting rid of your own players and your own talent that's come through from day one.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Rory, I hear what you're saying, but as a Chelsea fan, I kind of find it hard though, because there was for years you lot haven't, you guys didn't bring in youth, or you didn't believe in the youth project as much. You lot have been selling youth players when you had Abramovich, and this was the time while you lot was winning trophies, major trophies, because you was buying the best players around the world. Now you've gone to this model. Why do you find it? Why is it such a problem for them?
I think
to sell players what you lot was doing anyway.
Naturally, if we were replacing these players with world-class players, it would be a lot easier. So Trevor Chalobah, as much as I rate him, I think he's a very, very good Premier League footballer.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a world-class centre-half. Let's pretend that Chelsea was selling Chalobah in order to facilitate the signing of Mark Gahey.
Yeah.
Gahey is a bad example because he already played for Chelsea. Say Jared Branthwaite.
Okay.
It would be more palatable. But what we're doing is we're selling Chalobah and we're replacing him with Axel Disasi, who isn't as good as Chalobah. We're selling Conor Gallagher and we're replacing him with Leslie Ugochukwu, who isn't as good as Gallagher.
Yeah, but this is,
you know?
But listen, I
we're selling Broja, presumably, and we'll replace him with whoever it ends up being. And so Chelsea, inch by inch, I think you lose your identity and your soul. When you constantly chase the money, you're losing what you are and what you represent. Yeah,
but what you lot represented for the last 20 years is just buying the best players and winning trophies. And then if it doesn't work, you sack your manager. And now obviously you're going for a different project now, and it's a different model, it's a different owners. So obviously you're trying to invest in the youth and they're trying to invest in the club. And to you, it might be the wrong way, but this is what it's looking like for Chelsea Football Club at the moment.
No, it's certainly the way that it's going.
Yeah, and maybe as Chelsea fans, you guys maybe you're just gonna have to get used to it. And I know you're used to what they're used to, but this is it now. This is how most football clubs was run before you guys was injected with money. This is how football clubs was run before Man City was injected with money.
Do you know what we're doing here? I think actually your perspective on this, both of you, and anybody watching on YouTube, I'd love to see the comments. I think this is sad for you both, and you know, Chelsea and Arsenal, certainly no love lost. Chelsea and Fulham, certainly no love lost. I think it's sad for football. Like, I don't want to see, as much as I don't like Leeds United, perfect example, right? Chelsea and Leeds, huge rivalry. Some people will tell you that Chelsea's biggest rival is Leeds United. Most people say Tottenham. Some people will say Leeds United. Leeds United will be almost everybody's second biggest rival for Chelsea. Like, the hatred is there, the antipathy is there. All stems from 1970, and there is a real clash of cultures between Chelsea and Leeds. As a club, we despise one another. But you know, in Leeds, we're being absolutely run ragged. Radrat Sani, and even before that, Ridsdale, selling the soul of the club, going into bankruptcy. I don't want Leeds to succeed, but I want Leeds to exist in their true state. I want Leeds, the Premier League, the football pyramid, everything is better with Leeds powerful. And what's happening to Chelsea, I think, is sad for football because...
Oh, so you think everybody should... So you want... Basically, what happens to Leeds, you don't want to happen to you. You think Chelsea
should be good?
Do you care
if it happens to Chelsea?
I think ultimately, if you're a football fan, like, you want to see your rival teams fail on the pitch, but you don't want to see rich billionaires picking apart the foundation of the club and destroying it. And I feel like that's what, from the outside, as a Fulham fan, looking at Chelsea, that's what it looks like.
We saw it with QPR when we were, go back a decade or so. QPR, Chelsea, Fulham. There's about a mile and a half between each club. We support the two other clubs. You and I would have watched Queen's Park Rangers have their soul ripped out by Briatore. it was all going wrong. They had a geezer with a gun in a ball draw. It was do you remember all that?
Yeah.
Right? The geezer put a gun to the bloke's head in the boardroom. Now look, I don't like QPR naturally, but
No, they're all right.
QPR, I want QPR to exist, and I want them to represent Shepherd's Bush in a way that they're supposed to.
Yeah, for
because that's how it's supposed to be. But I don't know. I wonder if people are enjoying this version of Chelsea. Do you? You know when you see me and I'm going, this is all going wrong and we're sitting with Chalobah. Is that good or bad? I don't know.
It's not even about good or bad. I think this is just how football clubs have been run. You lot was very lucky for 20 years that you had an owner that just wanted
benefactor,
he wanted success at any cost, and he was willing to put money in his own pocket and buy the best players and get the best managers just to see his team win, which is great. All of us would love that. But
have you ever felt a disconnection with like now you're looking at Saka running down the wing and Saka's you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you know when you're looking at Saka's me. He's just better at football than me from Greenford.
Yeah, he's
like when you feel that affinity, right? It's there now for Arsenal. Arteta, one of his biggest, people talk about everything that he's done on the pitch. I think his biggest contribution to Arsenal was actually the connection between the fans, because that was gone under Emery.
Yeah, there was no connection.
Do you remember those times? Like, have you ever felt properly disconnected? Super League era, maybe? Like,
Yeah, 100%. I was disconnected, and it was at the back end of Arsene Wenger's last season. Like when we lost, I remember I think I've said on the pod already, when we lost 2-1 to Watford at home, and I said to myself, I'm not coming back to the Emirates.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
I said, I'm not coming here again. It just doesn't fit. There's the atmosphere was rubbish. What we fighting for? We're not getting top four. What we fighting for? And when Unai Emery was here, it was even worse. So there was a disconnect, and there was a big disconnect. Not even just me, fan base worldwide compared to what it is now. And like you said, Arteta did bring that back for us.
Yeah, it's impressive.
But even though it's the same, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because at the same time, I feel like it was our owners that was doing that for us, that was not making us feel connected to the club. But at the same time, it's the same owners now that's still here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah.
They just appointed the right man, haven't they? And giving him the tools he needs.
They appointed the right man, and I feel like they invested a bit more within the football club because they know what the sport football brings as a business. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they know they have to invest in this because financially it makes sense for them. So now Stan Kroenke's got his son more invested within the club.
Yeah.
He's there with Arteta or Edu.
I didn't realise how much money they've spent. You know that David Raya deal? I'm going a bit off
Cost
topic
27 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you know why he was on loan? He was on loan because they couldn't buy him because of
FFP.
Yeah.
So
like you basically spent net over 400 million quid in 4 years.
Yeah.
Which is why now they're being a bit more, they're being linked with sort of younger players, selling players and all that.
Yeah, so back to your question. I did feel disconnected. Not even probably just me. There's quite a few Arsenal fans that did feel disconnected. But at the same time, as an Arsenal fan, telling you who's been starving for 20 years of major honours, is patience. And obviously you're gonna have to wait for the right manager. I don't know if your ownership's gonna go down the same route as us, and you're gonna have patience within the one manager and try to build a project. But
it doesn't look likely. We've had 4 managers.
Yeah, you're gonna have to just wait it out. But at the same time, I don't feel sorry for Chelsea, because you guys are not even on a jealousy vibe. Like, if you not won your honours and history is what it is. Chelsea's won Champions Leagues and leagues. But the way you've done it wasn't conventional. I think the way how Liverpool done it with Klopp and the way how they built their squad was, for me, was the pinnacle way of building a squad and building the team. Yes, they spent money, but they got gems all over the place and built a super squad.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Roberts.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I just think from like a Fulham perspective, you don't want to see clubs, even if they're rivals, just focusing on profits and just focusing, and that's what Chelsea are doing.
Yeah,
they're just selling their youth products. They're bringing in young players who hopefully we can make some money from in like 4 or 5 years, manipulating all the rules off the pitch, which is, some people are saying is clever, but ultimately it's leading to bad results, which we're going to laugh at, Miles and I, and be like, that's great, but is a bigger problem in the world of football in the Premier League. It's scary.
Really is painful.